Hello everyone! Today we're going to present you our poem analysis about Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson and the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. and Apologize to AR by Sukasa Syahdan. This presentation made by Eni Putri Handayani, Hanief Filza Ferdiansyah, and Indira Vita Ariesia. This is the picture of the writer of the poem. We can see that from the picture that this poem met in a different year and different era. This is the poem of Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. And this is the poem, The Ballad of Richard Cory by Sukasa Syahdan. Richard Cory. Now we're going to talk about the first poem, Richard Cory. The first poem are talking about a rich gentleman's life named Richard Cory. This poem began with a story when Richard Cory went to the downtown, where the lower class neighborhood lives. Everyone who lives in downtown always look at him with amazement and always excited when he talked to them. First, we are going to tell you the summary of this poem. This poem talks about a rich gentleman's life who can be compared with a king. He went to downtown, where a lower class neighborhood lives, where the people work so hard but never bring meat to their plate. We can find the evidence in the stanza first and in line 3 and 4. Also in stanza 3, line 1. And also in the fourth stanza, line 1 and 2. He is a perfect gentleman, good-looking, modestly dressed, and very polite when he talks. He naturally shines when he walks down the street, and people get excited when he spoke to them. Even a simple good morning, the people could easily get excited. You can see in the stanza 2. Everyone in the downtown always wants to be like him, and in his position. He is a dream gentleman that everyone dreams of. He is rich, even richer than a king. He is educated, and his life looks perfect. You can see in stanza 3. However, at the end, Richard Cory went home and put a bullet through his head, as the last stanza said. Now, let's talk about the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. with Apologize to AR by Sukasa Syahdan. In this poem, we'll see similarities and differences of the two poems. This poem starts with a story of a princely man who went to downtown bringing his wealth. You can see in stanza 1. Everyone is envied with his wealth. Also in stanza 1. Mostly, this poem describes Richard Cory's Jr. the same as the first poem. He is good-looking, modestly dressed, and extra. But this poem is not comparing Richard Cory Jr. with a king who is naturally wise, kind, and gentleman. However, everyone still admire him and want to be like him. You can see in the stanza 3 and 4. This poem is actually almost the same as the first poem, but the ending of this poem is different. In this poem, Richard Cory Jr. is the one that finds the people commit suicide one by one. You can see in the last line of this poem. From the explanation, you can see that this poem has a different story, but at the ending. The first poem tells that the one that is commit suicide is Richard Cory, but the second poem said that Richard Cory Jr. is the one that find the downtown's people commit suicide one by one. These two poems sharing the same theme, which are version of life and isolated life. In the first poem, Richard Cory's life that looks perfect in the townspeople's eyes makes him commit suicide. And in the second poem, poverty makes townspeople commit suicide. In the first poem, Richard Cory wanted to have some relation to the people in downtown, but the people treat him differently. Then, in the second poem, the poverty that the town people have makes them commit suicide. Now, we are going to talk about the isolation theme. In the first poem, Richard Cory is disappointed because he only seen as a walking property. And in the second poem, Richard Cory Jr. finds townspeople commit suicide. In the first poem, Richard Cory was an unknown origin, had unknown family, and had unknown life. So, he went to the downtown because he felt lonely in his surroundings. He thought with his arrival in downtown, people there would respect him, but people there only saw him as a bunch of gold that sometimes changed into human when he was talking. Cory felt disappointed with the threat and decided to go back to his neighborhood. In his house, he committed suicide. In the second poem, Cory's child found the people downtown committed suicide.
Okay, now we are going to talk about the speaker. The speaker in here is we. We is a representative of downtown people. The speaker admire Richard Cory. Whoever the speaker, or in this case we can conclude that this we is an unfortunate people. Unfortunate person. We personally observe Richard Cory's life. The speaker's voice is a voice of townspeople. The speaker is common townspeople who work for something that has a little values. Even the speaker cannot afford meat because of that little values. So the speaker tells a story of Richard Cory as a flashback, which reminds that even a regal man who has everything can feel alienated. That can be the main reason he killed himself. The speaker thinks Richard Cory is the type of people everyone in the downtown wants to be. So that's about the we, or the speaker. So next to the next. Now we are talking about the setting. Setting is in these two poems. The setting is in downtown. In the first poem, Richard Cory's poem by Edwin Arlington Robinson, as we can see, this proof that whenever Richard Cory went downtown in the stanza 191, and we people of the pavement look at him in stanza 1 line 2. This refers to the downtown, as we can see. And then the second poem, the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. by Sebelas, where whenever he drives downtown, in stanza 191. So these two poems that have similar setting, which is in downtown. Also, the setting of time, in first poem, Richard Cory, the setting is described like in 20th century, as we can see. Let me show you the poem itself. So, how we can conclude that this poem is setting in past, before modern era. So in this line, and he was rich, yes, richer than a king. In the past, the king itself is used as a wealthy symbol, but different with the second poem, the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. In this poem, in this line, we can see dark glasses, a glossy limousine. It refers to the modern era, because before modern era, we don't know what limousine is or dark glasses is.
And now we will talking about the technique. Both of these poem has 4 stanzas, which means these are a simple poem. All poem have ABAB rhyming scheme except the third stanza of the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. that has AABB rhyming scheme. Why? It's only the third stanza that has rhyming ABAB, because you can see in the poem the last word is in the third stanza is conglomerate, rate, taking, and him, and that's the evidence of the AABB rhyming scheme. Richard Cory poem is an iambic pentameter. Why? Because it has the dum rhyme, or you can call it as have one pair of stressed and unstressed syllable in one feet, and it why is called pentameter? Because it has 5 feet, and all of the stanzas have the same meter. We can look at the example. We can see it has 5 feet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each feet they have one unstressed, and one stressed. And the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. is an iambic tetrameter. As just like the explanation before, it has the dum rhyme, and that's why it's called iambic, and it has 4 feet. We can take a look at the example. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 feet is like just I have explained it before. It has one unstressed, this, and one unstressed, and all the stanzas have the same meter. And now we're going to talk about the metaphor, irony, and imagery from Richard Cory poem. The first one is Metaphor. Metaphor is depicted in this poem. Robinson says that Cory was richer than a king, and he glittered when he walked. This refers to the social status of Richard Cory. It also represents the wealth, privilege, and property. As we can see in here, richer than a king, so he must be very rich. And he glittered when he walked. It means like when he walked, the people around him is amazed with him. And the second one is irony. Imagery also included in this poem. The ending of the poem succeeds to surprise the reader. The reader surely doesn't prepare to get that kind of ending, and that kind of ending in here talk about when Richard Cory is put the bullet inside his head, or he commits suicide. The next one is the imagery in Richard Cory poem. In the first, in stanza 1, line 2, we can read that we people on the pavement look at him. It used the side imagery because it has the look word that means the people is looking to Richard Cory, and the reader can imagine that there are people on the pavement look at Richard Cory, and he was a gentleman from soul to crown. From soul to crown, it's sign imagery too, because they can see Richard Cory. The author can imagine that the people look at him, and they can describe him as a gentleman from soul to crown, clean, favored, and imperialist slim. And next is the hearing imagery. It can be looked in the second stanza in second line, and he was always human when he talked. And then the line 4, good morning, and he glittered when he walked. And now we'll move on to the imagery in the Ballad of Richard Cory. This poem used side imagery in a princely look from soul to crown instead of he is very good looking. And we can, I have explained it before that we can imagine that the people can see the Richard Cory Jr. as the princely look from soul to crown. And for the imagery in the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. is that it's not different or same with the imagery that I have talked before in Richard Cory poem. And that's all our analysis in Richard Cory and the Ballad of Richard Cory Jr. I hope you are understand with the material that we have explained it before, and goodbye.